Now we're in chapter 5.2 and we're going to be multiplying polynomials. Our first objective is to use the product rule for exponents. The product rule states the following. When multiplying exponential expressions with the same base, add the exponents. So the rule is to keep the base and add the exponents. The base being the b and the exponents are the m and the n. So b to the m times b to the n is going to be b to the m plus n. So let's go in our books to page 360 and let's look at the following problems, starting with number 1. And it says multiply each expression using the product rule. And we have x to the 15th power times x to the 3rd power. So our base is x, so we're going to keep the x, and then we'll add our exponents. So we'll have 15 plus 3. So the final answer is x to the 18th power. Number 3, we have y times y to the 11th power. So now our base is y, so we keep the y, and we add our exponents. The exponent here is 1, so we have 1 plus 11. So our final answer is y to the 12th power. Number 5, we have x squared times x to the 6th power times x to the 3rd power. So we're multiplying all the same base, which is x, so let's keep the x. And then we're going to add our exponents, so 2 plus 6 plus 3. And we get x to the 11th power. And then last one, number 7, we have 7 to the 9th power times 7 to the 10th power. Here our base is 7, so we're going to keep the 7. Don't multiply them together, so don't do 7 times 7 as 49, but actually keep your 7. And then add your exponents, so 9 plus 10, and we have 7 to the 19th power. And this will be your final answer. Now objective 2 is to use the power rule for exponents. The power rule states the following. When you have a base raised to a power, raised to another power, these are my exponents, the m and the n. The rule is to keep the base, so keep the b, and then multiply the exponents together, so you'll have m times n. Again, in our books on page 360, let's start with number 9. The instructions say simplify each expression using the power rule. So for number 9, we have 6 raised to the 9th power raised to the 10th power. Here we have a base raised to a power raised to another power. We're going to keep the base, which is 6. And then our powers are 9 and 10, so let's multiply them. So 9 times 10. So we have 6 raised to the 90th power. Number 11, we have x raised to the 15th power raised to the 3rd power. So again, base raised to a power raised to another power. We're going to keep our base, which is x, and then multiply our powers together, so 15 times 3, and our final answer is going to be x to the 45th power. And then number 13, we have negative 20 raised to the 3rd power, all raised by the 3rd power. So this time the base is the negative 20, and I know that because it's inside my parentheses, and on the outside is my 3rd power, or my exponent. So we're going to keep the negative 20, keep it inside parentheses, and then we're going to multiply the exponents together, so 3 times 3, and we get negative 20 raised to the 9th power. So our third objective is to use the product to powers rule. The products to power rule states the following. When a product is raised to a power, you're going to raise each factor of your product to that power. So in their example, they have a times b, that's inside my parentheses, that's my product, is raised to the nth power. So you're going to take a and raise it to the nth power. So you have a to the nth power times, and you're going to do b also raised to the nth power. So back in our books on page 361 this time, and let's look at number 15. And it says simplify each expression using the products to power rule. And for number 15, we have 2x raised to the third power. We have a product in the inside of the parentheses, and that's the 2 times the x. So we're going to take each factor, so take the 2 and raise it to the third power. We're going to do the same with the x. And then we simplify. 2 to the third power is like saying 2 times itself 3 times. And that gives us 8. So we have 8 times x to the third power. Then number 17, this time we have negative 5x raised to the second power. Our factors are negative 5 and x. So we're going to take negative 5 and raise it to the second power. I'm going to use parentheses because I'm dealing with a negative number. And then we're going to take x and also raise it to the second power. Negative 5 to the second power, that's like saying negative 5 times negative 5, which is positive 25, and then x squared. Number 19, we have 4x to the third power, all raised to the second power. So our factors are 4 and x to the third power. We're going to raise each to the second power, so that's 4 to the second power, times x to the third power, raised to the second power. Now we're going to put parentheses around our x to the third power. And 4 to the second is 16. And then we simplify x to the third raised to the second using the power to power rule. So keep the x, and then multiply 3 times 2, which is 6. And our final answer is 16 times x to the 6th power. Number 21, we have negative 2y to the 6th power raised to the 4th power. So our factors are negative 2. So negative 2 is going to be raised to the 4th power. Use parentheses because it's negative. Times y to the 6th power raised to the 4th power. Now simplify, and that comes out to be positive 16. And then y to the 6th raised to the 4th, we'll keep the y. And then 6 times 4 is 24. So this is 16 times y to the 24th power. Remember, when it's power to power, we multiply. And then number 23. We have negative 2x to the 7th power raised to the 5th power. So our factors are negative 2, raise it to the 5th power, times x to the 7th power raised to the 5th power. So negative 2 to the 5th power, that's negative 32. And then x to the 7th raised to the 5th, that's going to be x to the 35th. Fourth objective is to multiply monomials. So when we're multiplying monomials with the same base, we're going to multiply the coefficients together and then multiply the variables. When we multiply the variables, we're going to end up using the product rule. And remember, the product rule was to keep the base, which is your variable, and add the exponents. Let's do an example. So remember, a monomial is a polynomial with one term. So let's say I had 4x squared. And I'm going to multiply it by another monomial, and that could be negative 3x to the 5th power. So the rule is to multiply the coefficients together. The coefficients are the numbers that are in front of your variable. So I have 4 and negative 3. So we're going to do 4 times negative 3, which is negative 12. And then you want to multiply your variables together. So x to the 2nd power times x to the 5th. Using the product rule, we're going to keep the x, and then we're going to add the exponents together. So 2 plus 5, which is 7. So this becomes negative 12x to the 7th power. So in our books on page 361, let's start by looking at number 25. The instructions say multiply the monomials. And for number 25, we have 7x times 2x. Our coefficients are 7 and 2, so we're going to multiply those together, and that gives us 14. Then let's multiply our variables together. So x times x. Remember the powers are 1s, so we're going to keep the x. Adding their powers together, 1 plus 1, which is 2. So our final answer is x to the second power. Number 29, we have negative 5y to the fourth power times 3y to the third power. Our coefficients this time is negative 5 and 3. So multiplying negative 5 times 3, we get negative 15. Let's keep the base, which is y. And remember, we're multiplying, which means we actually add the exponents. So 4 plus 3, which is 7. So this is negative 15y to the 7th power. And then number 33, we have 2x squared times negative 3x times 8x to the 4th power. Now we're multiplying 3 monomials together. So we have 3 coefficients, 2, negative 3, and 8. So we're going to do 2 times negative 3, which is negative 6, times 8, which makes it negative 48. And then we're going to multiply our variables together. So x squared times x to the 4th power. Remember, when we're multiplying the like bases, we're going to add our exponents. So 2 plus 1 plus 4, which is going to give us x to the 7th power. So our final answer is negative 48 times x to the 7th power. Our fifth objective is to multiply a monomial and a polynomial. Multiplying a monomial and a polynomial, you're going to use the distributive property by multiplying each term of your polynomial by the monomial. So again, you're going to multiply each term of the polynomial by the monomial. The monomial will be on the outside of the parentheses, and a polynomial will be on the inside. And all you're basically going to do is distribute. So again, in our books on page 361, let's look at number 47. And our instructions say, find each product of the monomial and the polynomial. And for 47, we have 2y squared times 3y squared minus 4y plus 7. So the monomial is the 2y squared, and the polynomial is the 3y squared minus 4y plus 7. So we're going to take the 2y squared, and we're going to multiply it by each term inside our parentheses. So 2y squared times 3y squared. So 2 times 3, which is 6. And then y squared times y squared, keep the y, add the exponents, 2 plus 2, which is 4. And then keep going, 2y squared times negative 4y, so that makes it minus 8y to the 3rd power. Remember, this exponent's 1, and 2 plus 1 gives us 3. And then plus 14y squared. 2 times 7 is 14, and then you keep the y squared. So our final answer is 6y to the 4th power minus 8y to the 3rd plus 14y squared. And then number 53, we have negative 3x squared times negative 4x squared plus x minus 5. So now we're going to use the monomial, which is the negative 3x squared, and we're going to multiply it by each term inside the parentheses. So negative 3x squared times negative 4x squared, well, that's going to become positive 12x to the 4th power. Remember to add the exponents. And then we're going to have minus 3x to the 3rd power. This has an exponent of 1. And then plus 15x squared. Be careful of your signs. Remember, minus makes that really negative. So that's -3 times -5, which is plus. And then the last objective is multiplying polynomials when neither one of them is a monomial. So when multiplying polynomials, you're going to multiply each term of one polynomial by each term of the other polynomial. Then you're going to combine your like terms. So you're going to have a polynomial times another polynomial, and each term of the first polynomial is going to multiply each term of the second polynomial. So in our books on page 361, we're going to start with number 61. And for number 61, we have x minus 11 times x plus 9. So we're going to multiply each term of the first polynomial by each term of the second. So x times x, which is x squared, and then x times 9, which is plus 9x. So now we're going to move on to the negative 11. So negative 11 times x, which makes that negative 11x. And then negative 11 times 9, which makes it minus 99. Our like terms are the 9x and the negative 11x. So we have x squared. Combining these two, we get minus 2x minus 99. And then number 67, we have x plus 1 times x squared plus 2x plus 3. And again, we're going to start by multiplying each term of the first polynomial by each term of the second. So the first polynomial's term is going to be x, and that's going to be x times x squared, as well as 2x and 3. So x times x squared is x to the third power, and then plus x times 2x, which is 2x squared, and then plus 3x. Then we're going to multiply 1 by each term of the second polynomial, and we're going to get plus x squared, plus 2x, and then plus 3. So now we combine our like terms, and we have x to the third power plus 2x squared plus x squared makes it 3x squared. And then 3x plus 2x is 5x, and then plus 3. And then last one, number 77, and we have x squared plus 2x plus 1 times x squared minus 2x plus 2. And we're going to multiply them together. So we're going to take each term of the first polynomial and multiply it by the second. So x squared times x squared is x to the fourth power. And then x squared times negative x is negative x to the third. And then x squared times 2, which is plus 2x squared. And then moving on, we're going to do 2x times x squared, which is going to become plus 2x to the third power. And then 2x times negative x is negative 2x squared. And then 2x times 2, which is plus 4x. And then the last one is going to be 1 times everything in the second. So that's just going to be plus x squared minus x plus 2. Now we need to combine our like terms. So we have x to the fourth. And then we have negative x to the third plus 2x to the third. So that makes it plus x to the third power. And then 2x squared minus 2x squared plus x squared plus 2 minus 2 plus 1, which leaves us with a positive 1. So we have just x squared. And then positive 4x minus x makes that plus 3x, and then plus 2. And this is our final answer. Okay, so this will conclude our video for 5.2. Please email me if you have any questions.